Hi everyone, so we're carrying on with averages today. We're going to be looking at mean from a frequency table. So if you're in my class, you will have done these same slides already with me. So if you want to, there's core but maths videos on the same topic as well. So it's broken into two videos. There's mean from a frequency table and then estimating the mean from frequency table. So I'll link those as well if you did want to watch them rather than this one, because you will have seen this before. Okay, so what we're going to look at today is how we find mean from a frequency table. So with a frequency table, it's just basically a more concise way of showing information rather than a list. So we've got the frequency here. What this means is that there are 3 dogs that have an age of 10. There's 4 dogs that have an age of 11, 7 dogs that have an age of 12. So rather than writing 10, 10, 10, 11, and writing it all out like this, it's much quicker to do it as a frequency table like this. The downside of a frequency table is it's a little bit less obvious how we work out the mean. So we know how we do it when we have a list. What we need to do is work out a method for doing it from a frequency table. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. So the first thing to do is draw in this extra column, and we call this fx. So we've got f, which stands for frequency, and x, which is whatever the kind of the variable is. In this case, it's age. And what we do is we're going to have a column that is just these multiplied together. So this one is 3 times 10, which is 30. We've got this one, which is 11 times 4, which is 44. And just a bit of a side note here, the reason why we're doing that is because we've got 3 lots of 10, so the total of them is 30. We've got 4 lots of 11, so the total of them is 44. So we're basically just chunking them up and adding them up in this way. So the next one we've got 7 lots of 12. So that would be 84. Then we've got 6 lots of 13, which is 78, and 1 lot of 14, which is 14. So then we add all of those up, and I think that should be 250. I think that's what it said on the slide before, I've not checked. So we add up the f of x column, and that gives us 250. So what that is equivalent to is if we had written it like a list, if we'd written it like that and added it all up. So this is basically the total of the list. So the next thing we need to do is we also need the total of the frequency. So we add this up, so we've got 3, add 4, add 7, add 6, add 1, so that is 21. And so what the total frequency is, we know that the frequency is how many of them there are. So the first one is 3, that's because there's 3 tens. So if we add up all the frequencies, that is just how many there are. So we've worked out these 2 really key bits of information. So what we need to do to work out the mean, so when we have a list like this, we take the total of them all added together and divide by how many there are. What we're doing with our frequency table is the same idea. We're taking our total, which is 250, so that is if we'd added all the things in the list together, and we divide by how many there are. So in this case, we're dividing by 21. So we've got 250 divided by 21, and I think that comes out as, it was about 11.9, I think it was off the top of my head. So we've got our method there for how we work out a mean from a frequency table. So this one is an exact value of the mean because we're not estimating anything. We'll see later on in the slides that there isn't a way of estimating using frequency tables as well. Okay, so with these ones, these are a couple of ones you can do to practice. So if you want to pause the video and have a go at these, you can do, just to get the extra practice. So I will reveal the answers in a second. So the first one's got the extra column done for you, the second one you'll need to do the extra column yourself. Okay, so revealing the answers. So we do the frequency times the cost for all of these extra column, and then we add that up, which gives us a total of £83.20. We then add up the frequencies, which gives us 49, and we divide the f times c total divided by frequency, and that gives us our average cost of £1.70. Okay, with the cats, again we need to do same idea. We do the weight times frequency in an extra column, and then we add that up, and we get a total of 93. We then divide by the total frequency, which is 22 in this case. So in each of these, doing an extra column, so this one we've got 4 times 2, which is 8, 3 times 0, which is 0, 32, 35, 18. So we add this up, that gives us 93. Add this up, which gives us 22. And then we do 93 divided by 22, which gives us our mean weight. So pretty much just a straightforward method of doing it. There's a few steps, but the steps are the same every time. There's nothing kind of different in the process. It's just a set process that you do each time. Okay, so with this one, the frequency table is slightly different. So if we look at the time column, we can see that rather than just being one number, it is a range of values. So it's 35 to 40, 40 to 50, and 50 to 70. So this is a range because it's a continuous thing. It's not just something that takes a set value. So what we need to do for these is come up with a number that represents that range, just a one number representation. So it makes sense that out of all the people that are within the 35 to 40 range, it makes sense to assume that they're all in the middle of that range. If we assume they're all 35, on average that'd be too fast. If we assume they're all 40, that'd be too slow. So what we're going to do is pick the middle of that range to represent it. So for the 35 to 40 range, the number we pick to represent that is halfway between 35 and 40, so 37.5. For the 40 to 50 range, again we pick the middle, so that's 45. And for the 50 to 70 range, we pick 60 because that is the middle. So then what we do, we now follow the method that we did before. When we have our midpoint, we then times that by the frequency and come up with our extra column. So all we're doing, we're multiplying our representative number, or the midpoint, by the frequency to get our last column. And then just like before, we total it up, and that tells us the total of all of our times. We total up the frequency, and that tells us our number of runners. So then to work out the mean, we do 1305 divided by 27, and we get our estimate, 38.3. So it's important to remember that this is an estimate, and that is because at this first point, we didn't use an exact value. So with the times, we don't know for certain that all of them will have been 37.5. We've made an assumption there. So that is why this is an estimate rather than an exact answer. So the ones we were doing before, they were exact answers because there was no variation. Whereas with this one, we've assumed that they're 37.5, and that has made it an approximate answer, not an exact answer. Right, so if you want to have a go at this one, if you think you've got it, pause the video now, check you've got it with this, and then you can go ahead and make a start on the task. So just do the rock section for now. Okay, so the estimate of the mean. So we do the same idea, multiply our midpoint, so 50, 250, and 700, and then we multiply by the frequencies to get our last column. And then total up the last column in the frequency and divide, and that gives us 166.7 as our answer. Okay, and if you had to go at the question on the right hand side as well, I'll just go over that one now. So this is kind of the same idea, just more worded question. So we've got our GCSE number and our frequency. So we've got 10 GCSEs, there's 25 people who do that, and 12 GCSEs, there are 5 people who do that. So what we need then, we need a third column, that is frequency times whatever the thing is. So we work them out, so that is 250 and 60. So our total number of GCSEs for everyone will then be 250 plus 60, so 310 GCSEs in the whole class. And the total frequency, there are 30 people in the class because 25 had 5. So then to work out our mean, we do 310 divided by 30, which gives us 10.3 recurring GCSEs. Okay, so I'll just have one last sort of check question. If you do want to check, you can do the wordy ones. There's one last one here, so if you want to pause and have a go at this, you can do. So top tip would be draw a frequency table. Okay, so we have so 2 classes of students, and we've got 2 different average marks. So what we're going to do is, because we know the average for the class, we can assume that everyone in the class got that average. So we've got 60 was the mark of one class, and that was 30 students in that class. And the other class had 25 students in, and they got an average of 75. So what we're going to do is, again, we are going to draw a third column, and that is going to be fx, so frequency times whatever the thing is, and we need to do these multiplied together, so 60 times 30 is 1,800, and then we need to do 75 times 25, which is 1,875. And when we've got that, we then need to add those up. So we total up the fx column, and that gives us 3,675. And we also total up the frequency column, which gives us 55. When we've got that, the last thing to do is to divide fx by the frequency, so the total fx by the frequency, so 3,675 divided by 55 gives us an overall mean of 66.81. So that would be the average of the whole 2 classes.